I get on stage and I call her by her first name. So yeah, I saw The Bride, and let me just say, we need to allow female directors to make a mediocre movies. Like, why is it that a male director can make two flops, but everybody still shows up to his third film? But when it comes to a female director, everything she makes has to be a banger, or she loses the title of director, right? Like, I've seen some terrible films by male directors, and they're still called the GOAT and super good and stuff. Like Martin Scorsese. Like, I don't understand why folks think he's the peak of cinema. But anyway, I think The Bride was a mediocre movie. Like, I liked it, but I'm also aware that I am not a mainstream demographic. uh, Plus, what we saw in the trailer is not the movie we get. I mean, it is the movie we get, but at the same time, not really. Anyway, I advise you that if you're going to go and see this movie, you should probably uh enjoy yourself. Like, go into it wanting to have a good time, and you should be fine. Don't go into it expecting an Oscar a winner film, because it's not. Clearly, a Maggie a Gyllenhaal was just having fun, and I love it when you can tell a director is having fun, because it comes through. Like, when a director is making a film they don't really like, it comes through. Like that a Marvel film, the Marvels. It was directed by Nia DaCosta. Like, you can tell that she wanted to make a movie, and Marvel was like, let's just cut everything and make it a Marvel movie. And as a result, it was bland and forgettable, right? But when a director is allowed to put their own stamp, their own taste on it, I guess, like, it's a good movie. Like Bone Temple. Ania DaCosta made Bone Temple, and that was a good movie. Almost like she wasn't being strangled by the executives. Anyway, The Bride. So, first and foremost, it starts off with a Mary Shelley in the afterlife. She's played by a Jessie Buckley. Anyway, she's played by the same woman who plays the bride, and she's in the afterlife. It's a black room. She's talking to herself, and she's like, "Oh, I'm I'm Mary Shelley, and everybody knows me for Frankenstein, but I have another story to tell, and I think now is the right time to tell it." Which is when she possesses Jessie Buckley's character, who's in the 1930s, and Jessie Buckley plays a call girl who dates mafia men, and her job is to get information for a cop investigation. But she and the other girls who were gathering intel, they were told to stop because the cops got paid off to stop investigating. But here's the thing, right? While they were investigating, a lot of the girls she was working with were murdered, except for her. So she's the last survivor of an investigation that's no longer going on. But it's not like she can just drop out, because then they'll be like, "Hey, why did you suddenly quit on us after we killed all your mole friends?" Like, that's kind of suspicious. So anyway, she's in a club. She's surrounded by gangsters and their girls, and she's playing her part. She's smiling and laughing, and just being a dumb girl. But then Mary Shelley possesses her, and she starts speaking in like a British accent, and just like she's just going bonkers. And she also spills some of the mob secrets. Like the main mob boss, he cut out the tongues of some girls and killed them, and she knows about it, and she's in a crowded tail club, and she is on the table going, "That man over there, he cut out some girls' tongues and he killed them. He killed them. I know he did." And everybody's like, "Girl, what the freak are you doing? That guy's gonna kill you." So her boyfriend takes her outside, and that's when she falls down the stairs. Like he starts slapping her around, she slaps back, and the whole time, Mary Shelley is like talking through her. So one minute she's like, "I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me," and then she's all like, "Oh, you wanker, blah, 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 I'm not gonna stay silent, blah, 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 blah." And then she switches back. Anyway, she falls down the stairs, breaks her neck, twists her leg. They throw her in a grave, and then it cuts to Frankenstein. He arrives in Chicago. He meets the a doctor played by Annette Bening, and he's like, "Hey, you! In this world, the process to bring someone back from the dead is called reinvigoration, and apparently, a Frankenstein is a real scientist in this world, but not a lot of folks study his work because bringing folks back from the dead kind of wonky. Anyway, the doctor, she meets Frankenstein, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, can I study you?" And so she studies him, and he's all like, "Listen, I'm lonely. I'm dying of aloneness here. Can you make me a bride?" And she's like, "So you want a girl for sex?" And he's like, "Among other things, but mostly I just want a companion. Like I want someone who shares my state of being, who knows what it's like to be apart from society. Like I want a bride. I want someone who matches me, who is my equal." And so he spends several days like just at her house hanging out, just doing sciencey stuff. And she's like, "So do you want her made from many different parts? Because that's grotesque, and we can't exactly just run around robbing morgues. This is not the 1820s anymore." And so he's like, "Okay, let's just dig up one woman and bring her back." So at random, they dig up a Jessie Buckley, and they put her on the table. And he's like, "You know what? I don't think we should do this. She is way too pretty." And the doctor's like, "Look, she's on the table. I got my equipment ready. We're bringing her ass back to life." And he's like, "Okay." So they bring her back to life, and she's still possessed by Mary Shelley. So one minute she's just like confused, like, "What's going on? Who are you people?" Because when she died, she lost her memory. So she's like, "What's going on? Who are you?" But then a Mary Shelley will kick in and be all like, "Oh, hello, I'm British. I'm here too." And it's really interesting just to watch a Jessie Buckley play two women. It's interesting. Anyway, because she was dead and brought back to life, she had the connection to the afterlife. So, like later on in the film, she starts remembering other women who've been killed, and she starts like, anyway, I'll explain it more when we get there. Anyway, the doctor keeps her at her place, and she's like, "I want to go outside," and the doctor's like, "No, you're undead. You were killed for a reason. Let's just stay here." Now Frankenstein, he's already made up his mind to be in love with her, and since she came back with no memory, he's like, "Hey, so you're my bride. We're gonna be together." And she's like, "Oh, a helpmeet, a helpmate. Oh, okay." Like she's not into the idea, but she also doesn't know what she was doing last, so why not? So I'm saying so a lot. I'm sorry. Anyway, she doesn't know who she is, so she decides to just hang out with a Frankenstein while she figures it out. So Frankenstein takes her to a movie. Then he takes her to a gay club. I'm pretty sure it's a gay club because everybody in that club was queer. Anyway, they're in the club, and Frankenstein's like, "Oh, I don't dance. I'm gonna just sit over here and just drink." So she's dancing, and it's the scene in the trailer where she's just getting it. Just, By the way, a Frankenstein has a fixation, obsession with this a movie star named Ronnie Reed. He is played by Jake Gyllenhaal. So because he's been alone for so long, he's just really attached to this movie star, and he sees all his movies in theaters. So he starts imagining himself as Ronnie Reed, dancing around in a little suit and tie, and just having a fantasy. And that's where all the fantastical scenes in this movie come from. It's just Frankenstein pretending he's in the role of Ronnie Reed. Some folks won't like it because it's kind of campy, but I liked it. That's maladaptive a daydream. Like when you're lonely and don't have anyone, you do daydream where you're someone else who's better than you in every way. Anyway, they're in the club, and these two men start grinding on her. And at first she's into it, but then they take it too far by like touching her, and that's when Mary Shelley kicks in, and she speaks in poetry. I think, like she speaks in poetry and in random words, which is how you speak in the first place. Anyway, but yeah, she's a very distinct personality, and she's like, what's all this? Who are these men? Violence, violence. And that's when a Frankenstein takes her out the club, and the two men who were groping on her, they follow them out. And Frankenstein's like, look, I don't want no trouble. And they're like, shh, let's fuck with this guy. He's scarred and weird looking, but let's fuck with him. So they start hitting and shoving on him, and then they start trying to M word Jessie Buckley in the street, like these two dudes just like grab her and start pulling up her clothes, and then they push her on the ground, and one guy says, get her legs," and that's when Frank he goes berserk. He slams one's head against the wall, and then one dude has the brilliance to like crawl backwards and lean his head against the curb, which is when he gets curb stomped. And Frankenstein's like, "I am so sorry. I normally don't drink. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that." But while they're doing that, some rando takes their picture because they're like 10 feet outside the club. There are people hanging around outside the club, and yet these men were gonna are award her right there. So there's tons of witnesses. They see Frankenstein kill the two men. They see the bride run off with him, and he's like, "Listen, you gotta leave me, okay? I know how this works. I kill people. A mob forms. It's a whole thing. So just leave me alone. I'm gonna skip town." So he goes to his apartment and like gets his stuff. And when he comes out, she's just sitting there waiting for him. And he's like, "What are you doing? Go home." And she's like, "I don't know where I live. I don't know anything except I know you. I like you. Let's stick together." So they run off and train hop. She has another dream sequence where she's talking to Mary Shelley. She's like, "Who are you?" She's like, "I'm Mary Shelley. I'm the rage of all women. I'm blah 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 blah." So anyway, they wake up on the train. She kills a police officer, and that's when Penelope Cruz. Okay, Penelope Cruz plays a detective, but because she's a woman, no one takes her seriously. So she uses Peter Sarsgaard as a beard, basically. Like whenever they show up to a crime scene, he's all like, "Hi, I'm Officer Jake. This is my a secretary. She just likes to be in the field with me." So while he does the cop thing of shooting the shit, she does all the real detective work. So Frankenstein and the Bride, they get to New York, and Frankenstein finds a Ronnie Reed, and he's like, "Oh my god, you're Ronnie Reed! Like, I've watched all your movies. I've seen you on stage." And Ronnie Reed is like, who the heck is this guy? But he's trying to be nice and polite because Frankenstein looks chopped. Okay, they're at a fancy gig, and the Bride and Frankenstein got in by pretending to be servants. So when he sees Ronnie Reed, Frank drops the act and he's like, "Look, I can dance too!" And he starts dancing, and they're like, "What the heck is wrong with him?" But then the bride joins him in dancing, and then other folks in the audience get possessed too, and they start dancing, and then they all just start dancing, and they're all confused, like why am I dancing along to this weirdo? This is so strange. But then the detective shows up, and he recognizes the bride from the old investigation days, and she recognizes him but doesn't know him. But anyway, Bride grabs a gun, and that's when she gets possessed and starts remembering all the other dead women. And she looks at different men in the crowd and goes, "I know you. You assaulted this woman. You beat up this woman. You divorced your wife. You drove your wife to an early grave." And she starts giving out names and receipts. And I'm like, "How do you know all this?" And I'm like, "Oh right, your head is still cracked, and you're getting information from the other side." So yeah, she just starts naming off everybody's dirty laundry. And then Frankenstein brings down the chandelier as a distraction. They run out, and she's like, "Oh my god, I killed a cop in there." And he's like, "No, you didn't. He's fine." She's like, "No, I killed a cop in there, and that one detective man, I know her from somewhere, but I don't know where." And he's like, listen, it's okay, okay? It's fine. Now, throughout the film, Frankenstein's been lying to her, like he calls her his bride, and so she's like, "So do you know me?" And he lies and goes, "Yeah, I know you." And she's like, "What's my name?" He's like, "Your name is Penelope." And she's like, "Penelope? Okay, yeah, I'm Penelope, but call me Penny." So they flee across the Midwest. They started in Chicago, and now they're in New York, and they start hitting all the places where Ronnie Reed filmed his movies, because Frankenstein likes that guy, like knows all his movies and their places. So while they're driving around doing that, um, folks who saw the bride in action, they are inspired by her. Like they're inspired by this random strange woman who called out the corrupt, abusive men in power with just sheer audacity. So that's when a copycat criminals start to occur. Like women paint their faces black and put a smear on their faces. They paint their tongues black. They're just copying her in their in they're copying her in her audacity and her courage to just exist, to be loud and deviant and nonconformist. So they're out on the streets robbing and shooting. It's a whole thing. Meanwhile, the bride has no idea what she's done. She and Frank go on a honeymoon, like back in the pool, like because Frank can't get a hotel. Anyway, Frank, they were hiding out in a empty pool, and she comes on to him, and he's like, I'm good." Like she starts going down on him, and he like whoever did the practical effects, they did their job really good, because I was repulsed by his body. Now, thankfully, we did not see his penis, but she was definitely going down on him, and he was like, "No, no, that's fine. It's cool. Fine. It's whatever." But after they start getting along during doing crime stuff, they actually have sex, and she just tries to go fast because in her past life, sex was this cheap, fast thing you did to distract and disarm and get information. But he's like, "No, no, 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 let's go slow." So they take their time, and I like the way women shoot a sex scenes, I guess, because it doesn't feel pornographic. It feels intimate, like you're not supposed to be watching it, which is the whole point. Anyway, they have a sex in a barn, and I'm like, okay, all right. So I'm guessing a week has passed since the last time you attempted this. Anyway, by the way, Frank is a 100-year-old virgin. He's a 100-year-old virgin, and I shouldn't laugh because he's ugly and knows he's ugly, so of course he's not getting any action, and he doesn't really have any money because when he first runs out with the bride, he finds a public fountain and he starts fishing pennies and dimes out of it to like pay for things because he can't get a job, right? So once she starts getting into his lifestyle, she too starts helping him gather pennies so they have some money. So anyway, the female the detective she she figures out that they're hitting all the places from a Ronnie Reed movies. So they make it to Niagara Falls, and that's when the bride starts having a breakdown. Like she's like, I don't want this. I don't want any of this. Who are you? What are we doing here? Because this whole time, like I said, he's been lying to her. He said, "You are my bride. We had an accident." And she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, let's believe that." So they're like driving on the road, right? And she asks him, "Do you remember proposing to me?" And he makes up the story on the fly, like, "Oh yeah, we were in a car like this driving. I made some jokes, and I offered you a wedding ring, engagement ring. I that I've carried around for weeks. And we had champagne and oysters. And at the very beginning of the film, this creepy guy was trying to feed her an oyster, and it turns out she hates oysters. So when Frank brings up oysters, she's like, "Wait a minute, I don't think I like oysters." But anyway, he carries on, and he's like, "Oh, we had champagne and oysters." And then they kill another cop, which leads to Niagara Falls, and that's when her breakdown begins. She asks him, "Was I like this before the accident? Was I pretending I was a Mary Shelley?" And he finally comes clean and says, "It wasn't an accident. We dug you up out the ground and brought you back to life." And while this is going on, a Peter Sarsgaard shows up, and he's like, "Ida, Ida, it's me. I'm so sorry about what happened. Ida, Ida." And she's like, "Wait a minute. My name is Ida?" And she shoots Peter Sarsgaard in the foot before she and Frank run away and steal a car. And while they're in the car, she's like, "I know that cop, but I don't know that name Ida." And she's like, "Okay, okay, so I was killed, and you brought me back to life to be your bride." And she gets a little surly with him, like, "Oh, okay, so I'm supposed to be with you now, huh? This girl who doesn't know who she is or how she's supposed to be. You want me, huh? You want this confused, broken doll of a woman, you know?" And it's kind of like a third act a breakup, except not really because they can't really break up, you know? Like where's she gonna go? She doesn't know where to go. Plus, he doesn't really drive. Like I don't think he knows how to drive, which makes sense because he's from the 1810s. But you couldn't have learned anyway. She does all the driving, and she slowly comes to terms with the fact that she's dead and now she's alive, and she needs to be reinvigorated to become someone new, someone else, because Ida is dead and gone. Now it's just her, Penny, Ginger, whatever she calls herself. She's a new woman, and she has to figure out who she is in this time. So while they're doing that, Peter Sarsgaard sits down with Penelope Cruz, and he explains that he was working the investigation, blah 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 blah. A bunch of girls were supposed to sleep with gangsters and get intel, but then the like a Peter Sarsgaard is a boss, and because his boss, a police chief, got paid off, he stopped the investigation, which left those girls in the lurch. So when they got found out, they died horribly. And Ida, she went to him and said, "You gotta reopen this case. So many folks die for this thing. Like so many girls die for this. We gotta reopen this case and catch this guy." So she sleeps with him, as like a favor, like a a bride, and instead of going to the police chief and reopening the case, he just forgets about her, which is why when we see her in the club, she's all bored and unhappy. She was supposed to be an undercover agent playing a whore, but now she's just a whore because there's no more investigation. Like she's nobody. She's just a pretty face, which is probably why she was a bit more happier when she's dead because I just said it. She can be who she wants now, not who society thinks she is or wants her to be. So yeah, she and Frank stop at a drive-through to watch another Ronnie Reed film, and that's when she's like, I want to be the bride. Like I want to be the bride. And he's like, the bride of Frankenstein? And she's like, no, just the bride. I don't want to be Ida or Penny or any of these other women. I just want to be the bride. And he's like, yeah, okay, cool. So he gets on one knee and he's like, oh, I love you to the end of time. Like you might not know, like you might not be who I thought you were, and you might not be who you thought you were, but let's figure it out together. Because Frankenstein is determined to love this woman. Like if she said let's burn down the world, he would happily provide some matches because he's been alone for centuries, decades. He is ready to love someone no matter how difficult and confusing they are. And I'm like, man, that's pretty interesting to think about. So anyway, he gets on one knee and takes her hands, and she's like, I love you, and she's like, oh, I love you, and then he gets shot on the head by some random mook, and then the cops show up, and somehow Jesse Buckley drags his heavy a 6 foot some ass into the back of the car, and she drives back to the science woman's lab, and she's like, you need to bring him back to life. I was dead and you brought me back, so bring him back. And the scientist explains that if I bring him back, he is going to be off. Like he won't remember you or anything. And the bride's like, yeah, I know. I was there like a month ago. I know what it's like to wake up not knowing anything and being confused. So it's fine, okay? Like he accepted me when I was confused and random. I'll accept him if he comes back confused and random. And she's like, I don't know, because turns out I had a husband named George, and I brought him back to life too, and he wasn't the same, so I finally put him down. And she's like, I hear you, but can you please bring Frank back to life? I love you. And that's when the cops come in, and you know how Bonnie and Clyde died in a police shootout? Well, that's how the bride dies. These cops come in, guns blazing, like blam, 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 and she's just dancing, and then she falls on top of Frank's body, and he's like dead there. And then Penelope Cruz comes in, and she's like, "All right, boys, step out that shooting." And they're like, "Who is this random ass woman?" And she's like, "I'm a detective. Here's my bag." And they're like, "Oh, great, okay, a woman detective." So she tells them to clear the room, and she turns to the doctor and says, "Doctor, I'll give you some time alone with them, and take as much time as you need." And I'm like, wait a minute, you want the doctor to bring them both back to life, but they won't. They won't remember anything, and they'll be back at square one. But at least they'll be back at square one together. So yeah, the doctor fires up her machine, and she brings them both to life. And the last image of the film is their hands like interlacing. That's how it ends. Frankenstein and his bride starting at day one together, Adam and Eve style. Now, I already know some folks are not gonna like this film because it's very feminist. Okay, it's a fucking feminist film. Like, there's this recurring joke throughout the film, like at the beginning, a gross guy asks Jesse Buckley, "How do you open up a tight little oyster?" And he says, "With a little muscle." And basically, it's a great joke, but she laughs it off because it's the 1930s and they're all gangsters. So she's like, ha ha, a little muscle. But yeah, in case I said that too fast, the a joke is how do you open a tight a little oyster? And the answer is with a little muscle. So oyster is slang for a woman's vagina, and you get it open with a little muscle. So basically, you're forcing her vagina open. Yeah, you're forcing it open. It's a great joke, but it's funny because it's 1930s and ha 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 ha. But yeah, yeah, that joke is kind of like a running theme. Well, not a running theme, but like a motif. Because whenever she comes across a guy being gross to a woman or whatever, it usually ends with the guy getting attacked by her or killed by her. Because when they're on the road, there's this cop who like pulls them over and he starts filling her up. And at first, she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna just let this happen because because the sooner he's done with me, the sooner we can get back on the road." But then Mary Shelley speaks up and goes, "Where's that rage? Where's that monster? You don't submit. You're a monster now. You're dead. Fight back." And that's when a Frankenstein like gets up and just shoots the guy through the window of the car. And I'm like, "Oh snap!" But he was a bad cop, so it's fine. But yeah, if I'm bad at explaining movies, go watch the movie yourself. Just know it's very feminist and it's very quirky. If you don't like a character with, well, not split personality, but who's possessed by another character, and if you don't like, uh, I don't know. I guess I guess all the men in the film were props for the a female a character story. And if you don't like seeing men as props in the stories of women, then how do you think I feel whenever I watch an action film and the women are just props in the men's story? Like there's a lots of commentary on gender and sexism and social expectations, and because it's the 1930s, it's very pronounced. Like men shoot and women are. But yeah, I like the film. I might see it again at the end of the month because now I know what to expect and the vibe of it. Because from the trailers, it looks like it's gonna be a serious a noir horror film, but it's not straight a noir horror. It's it's camp. It's camp. It's zany. It kind of reminded me of a Franken hooker in that like on the surface it's one thing, but if you look below the surface it's saying something else, something kind of clever. But yeah, ooh, the bride and a freaking hooker could be a double a feature someday. Like a lot of folks aren't going to like this film, but I feel like in 5 to 10 years it's going to be a cult classic, a kind of like a Franken hooker. Like folks are gonna say it's so bad it's good, but like in 5 to 10 years, it's gonna be like, oh my gosh, I love that movie. That movie is so great. I'm like, okay, poser. You only care now because it's a cult classic. But yeah, I liked it. It wasn't a waste of money. But what was a waste of money was me getting this drink. Like my ticket was like $8, and this drink, well, it's like seven because my price went from like 8.50 to like 15.25, and I'm like, damn. No wonder I snuck in some candy earlier. uh, yeah, I snuck in some candy because I'm a criminal. Bye bye. Subscribe and like and all that fun stuff.